Okay, Francesco, this is my homework assignment, and we're here just talking about my homework assignment. Okay, you mentioned the Oxford group. What is the actual name of the school or university?
Well, this is Oxford University.
And where are they?
The University of Oxford is in Oxford.
Okay, very good. London. England?
England, yes. Not London, it's about 2 hours from London.
Okay.
And it's the English-speaking world's most ancient university.
It's the English-speaking world's most ancient university. And this is where you got your degree?
Indeed.
Where'd you get your degree in?
It was in philosophy, politics, and economics,
Ooh.
Which is a very traditional degree of Oxford. It's been there for about 150 years.
Very smart boy.
And it was great fun. It was great fun.
Okay.
You can study fun things like philosophy and useful things like economics at the same time.
Now, the museum has the Oxford, I say Oxford group giving awards, but it's the Oxford...
Well, it's the Oxford Society Group.
Okay, and what is or who is the Oxford Society Group?
So the Oxford Society is an organisation of all the alumni of Oxford University. These alumni are obviously all over the world. So the Oxford Society has small groups all over the world. It has one in London. It has them all over the US, from New York to California, and these groups exist to help these alumni meet up.
Okay, the past alumni.
Indeed. There's one, for example, in Rome, there's one in Milan, they occasionally meet, and there's one in Tuscany, and the one in Tuscany is based here.
And you are in what position with the group? A volunteer, a president?
Well, it's not really been officialized. I organize their meetings here in Chianciano.
Okay.
And yes, I'm not really sure. We haven't really officialized that. We have a chairman.
You are the official workhorse.
Indeed. Okay. We have a chairman, and that's Paola Nebbia.
Paola Nebbia, and she's a graduate too.
Yes, she actually taught. She taught law in Oxford, and now she's working in Rome. I can't remember which organisation. I think it's either the UN or something like that. But you'll get to meet her.
Okay,
she'll be the president of the Oxford jury here.
I have a question about the Oxford jury. How many people are on the jury?
It should be about 5.
And they are all alumni?
That's right, yeah.
Now you're saying she's a professor. Is she an alumni professor or a current professor?
No, she's an alumni professor.
Okay.
These people all live in Italy. So they're all alumni. None of them are currently at the University of Oxford.
Now, does Oxford University, did it offer any art studies, art history?
Yes.
It did, okay.
It does, yes.
It does, okay. Just for curiosity, are any of the judges possibly, their backgrounds are diversified like yours, but are any of them have a specialty in art by chance?
Well, they're all quite interested in art. And they all have various degrees.
But it may not be the laurea, the actual degree of art.
That's
okay,
right.
And that's why you've asked me to speak.
Indeed, yes.
I get it now.
Well,
okay.
Well, very few people in Oxford actually study art history as such. But it tends to come into other things.
Okay, so we're going to bring that a little bit more current. Yesterday you have asked me to do a little bit of homework and to speak about the
Pre-Raphaelites.
Raphaelites.
Yes.
Pre-Raphaelites. Okay. Yeah. I've started to do some homework, and because I want to make a good transition with you guys, from your knowledge, realizing you don't have an extensive art background like I do, and I recognize that, what do you see them as playing into your group? Why are we talking about them?
Well, we're going to have a very pleasant and very kind of light, very anecdotal conference.
Good.
And it'll be about Oxford. It'll be trying to explain a little bit about Oxford's background to the people around here. At the same time, there'll be the Oxonians present, so we're going to try to surprise them with a few interesting facts that they might not have known. Now, obviously, we're in Chianciano, we're in a museum, so the conference is going to focus on Oxford, on its relationship with Italy, and its relationship with art. So,
and the pre-Raphaelites.
Yeah.
Raphaelites. Did they? I haven't gotten to the point yet, but were they involved with Oxford?
They were, yes. Many of them went to Oxford, and many of their works are currently still in Oxford. So yes, they were an English movement. They were based. A lot of them were based in London, but quite a few were based in Oxford. They certainly, they could be considered one of Oxford's artistic movements. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
And they're also an artistic movement which is based in Oxford, but also has a very heavy Italian influence.
Yes.
Which makes them very interesting and kind of ideal an ideal movement to study in this conference. Very briefly, just for 10 minutes, but a little introduction.
Sure. Okay. Because I've started doing my homework, and there's a lot of information, and I want this to have a really good transition. When, in your limited knowledge of them, what is your understanding of them now, before I introduce more information tomorrow? Well, what's your understanding of this group? What's the buzz among the Oxford alumni, their understanding or interpretation of this pre-Raphaelite
group? Yes.
Raphaelite group.
Well, what's interesting is that this is a group that in a sense that they wanted to go back to an earlier age of purity. So they saw everything that had come since Raphael. So since since the Renaissance, perhaps even the Enlightenment, they saw that a kind of corruption in art, something that had gone wrong, and they wanted to go back. And in particular, they wanted to go back to the times before Raphael. So they wanted to revive a style of art associated with medieval times. They wanted to, in a sense, hark back to, for example, Fra Angelico, these other great historic artists. And yes, so what's interesting about them is that they reject a large amount of Enlightenment artistic innovations. They want to go back to a time, of course, when art was basically a very largely Italian thing. In medieval
the high
times.
Renaissance, and then what I was reading is it talked about mannerism, and in the little bit that I've seen, it talked about, I almost want to say, a style that was a little bit idealistic, that put together, even had a little bit of a kind of an Art Deco style to it, that it had a fantasy element. I mean, even though it was subjects and things that were very real, it was almost like an enlightenment of God touching it, and everything became a little bit fantasy.
Indeed, yes. Well, that's very much what medieval art was like. So medieval art was more iconographic, and they wanted to go back to this iconography. And of course, you mentioned God, and of course, they want to go. They want to go back to that intensity of religion. So medieval art shows us this very intense iconography, these religious ideas, and the artist, he puts these religious ideas together. And effectively, the result is something which is very, very fantasious, very innovative. You kind of see you might see imaginary landscapes behind, things put together in a very imaginative and not very realistic way.
Is what they were looking to do.
That is what many of them were looking to do, yes. And of course, yes, so that's why this group, I think, is ideal to have a quick chat about, just to give a brief introduction.
It talked about on Wikipedia also that they were considered to be possibly the first avant-garde group, wanting to change the direction. It was, what I saw so far is that this group of men were far more than just painters. They were writers, they were sculptors, they were poets, they were translators, they were, I want to say maybe a refined bohemian, which is probably where they get that avant-garde from. That although they were scholared, and most of their presentation and clothing was very formal, there was one or two that liked to put on like a Russian hat with Russian baggy Turkish pants, and he was trying to find that voice. Okay, so
well, that's very Oxford.
Oh, is it?
Indeed, it's Oxford famous for these eccentricities.
Really?
Indeed, yeah.
Okay, so where do you think your topic, before I speak, is going to end? You're going to be talking, and then it'll end, and then I'll come in. Where's the last part you're going to be at before I start?
Well, there's going to be a very clear break.